Here is a more difficult than usual GCSE type question, which reads, a bag contains n beads. 6 of them are green, the rest are yellow. Mandy takes a bead from the bag and keeps it. She then takes another bead from the bag. They are both green. The probability that they would both be green is 1/7. And part A says, draw a tree diagram to describe this. Before we start, okay, n is the total number of beads at the start. And the number of green beads plus the number of yellow beads at the start is n. And we know that there are 6 green beads at the beginning. So G is 6. We get 6 plus y is n. And rearranging this, we get y equals n minus 6. This is, of course, at the start. So to draw the tree diagram, okay, so we put the first 2 branches for the first bead here. The first bead can be yellow or green, and for the second bead also yellow or green. There are 6 greens to begin with out of n. So that is the probability, 6 over n is the probability that the first bead is green. At the beginning, there are n minus 6 yellow beads. So the probability that the first one is yellow is n minus 6 over n. For the second bead, if the first one was green, then there are 5 green left out of n minus 1. And in fact, this is all we need in order to answer the question. But I'll complete the tree diagram because the question asks us to. So the denominators in every case will be n minus 1. And for this one here, if the first bead was green, there are still n minus 6 yellows left. Moving to the top, if the first one was yellow, there are still 6 greens left, so the probability for green is 6 over n minus 1. And for the second one to be yellow, if the first one was yellow, well, there were n minus 6 to begin with, and we took a yellow out, so the probability will be n minus 7 over n minus 1. And that's the end of part A. Part B says, show that n squared minus n minus 210 is 0. And so these are the 2 branches of interest to answer part B. We're going to select 2 greens. And so the probability that the first one is green and the second one is also green is equal to 6 over n times 5 over n minus 1. And we know from the question that this is equal to 1/7. So this is what we will use to derive the quadratic equation that is given. And so 6 times 5 is 30. N times n minus 1 is n bracket n minus 1. And that is equal to 1/7. Cross multiplying, we get 30 times 7 is 210. And that's equal to 1 times n minus 1, which is n bracket n minus 1. Multiplying out the right-hand side, we get n times n squared, minus n times 1, which is n. And bringing the 210 over to the right-hand side, we get 0 equals n squared minus n minus 210. And flipping this over, we get n squared minus n minus 210 is 0, as required by the question. So we've answered part B. I'll move over to the left for the last part. It says solve this equation to work out how many beads were in the bag at the start. So we have n squared minus n minus 210 is 0. And this, in fact, factorizes. So if you think about it a little bit, you will see that it factorizes to n minus 15, n plus 14 is 0, giving us n equals 15 or minus 14. But of course, n must be positive. We start out with a positive number of beads, not a negative number of beads. And so n is 15. And that concludes the question.